Now, 1 year ago today, there was no doubt in my mind that this is a model of the world in which we live. Little did I know that a month later, I would stumble onto flat Earth theory, which sounds ridiculous when you first hear it. Flat Earth, the whole idea is, you're gonna fall off the edge. We were taught in school that the silly ancients believed that the Earth was flat, and that Columbus sailed to America and basically proved that it was a ball. I mean, that's what I was taught as a kid. And so I started seeing these flat Earth videos popping up constantly on YouTube, and started seeing some chat about it on the internet. And I just started thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. I was always a huge nerd when I was a kid. I watched all the Star Treks, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all that stuff. Loved Star Wars. Played a ton of video games. Star Wars X-Wing is still one of my all-time favorite video games. And so the idea that there's that we're not a spinning ball in space, kind of really threw me off. There's no planets out there. It's not what we think it is. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to prove this wrong. So I set out to do so. One of the things that caught my attention about flat Earth theory was that we can see things much farther away than we should be able to if the surface of the Earth is curved, based on a curvature or a circumference of 25,000 miles. So, first thing I did, I got some binoculars. I drove over to Cape Canaveral, because I live very close there, just to bring some irony into it as well. And I started to lay down on the beach and look at things that were 6-7 miles away to the north. I looked at the port of Canaveral, at the beach that juts out a little bit from the beach south of it, and I could see it. I could see the waves washing up on it, and based on a sphere with a circumference of 25,000 miles, that shouldn't be possible. And I found the flat Earth community, a man named Michael Conkey, came up with this chart. Very good chart. So this is a great contribution to the world, in my opinion, to get an idea of how much drop there should be from level view. Okay? To help you visualize what this is saying is, if you were to draw in AutoCAD or any other drafting software, MicroStation or anything else, a circle with a radius of 3,959 miles, and then draw a line tangent to that circle, at every mile from that tangent point, you should see so much drop. Now that tangent line is assuming that your view is level. When you look out over a surface of water, your view is level. I think it's level, right? People argue that when you're looking at things in the distance, you're actually looking down, and that this isn't right. But I think my view is level. When I'm standing here upright and looking out, I think my view is pretty much level. And I see things across a body of water. I don't think I'm looking down at them. But the real proof for me came when I went to Lake Apopka in Florida, the second largest lake in Florida. There are areas of the lake where there's an 8-mile stretch across. I took my telescope out there, and I set it. I actually put the tripod in the water, and I set the telescope about 3 feet above the surface of the water, and I could see the shore on the other side. And that doesn't make any sense, because when you look at the curvature chart, you can see that at 8 miles, there should be roughly a 42-foot drop, right? Almost 43 feet. Now, subtracting the height of my telescope, because it's above the water, take about 3 feet, roughly there should be a little under a 40-foot drop to the shore on the other side. But I can see it. I shouldn't be able to see it. There should be a curve of water in the way. And so, perspective has a lot to do with how we perceive this world. And one of the best ways to start visualizing that is to think of looking down a long hallway, or look at a picture of a long hallway, or looking down a long hallway, you'll notice right away that the floor and the ceiling appear to be sloping toward each other, or the floor appears to be sloping up, the ceiling appears to be sloping down, and the walls appear to be sloping toward each other. Now we know the walls are plumb and the ceiling and the floor are level, or they should be, and yet they all appear to slope towards the center point at the end of the hallway, however long the hallway is. And the corners also appear to follow this apparent slope towards the end of the hallway, but they don't. And something else to think about is that if you look down a long hallway and you crouch and then stand up, and crouch and then stand up, you'll start to notice that the floor in the hallway, the apparent slope of the floor in the hallway decreases as you crouch and increases as you stand up. And the opposite is true for the ceiling. The ceiling, the apparent slope of the ceiling downward tends to increase as you crouch and decrease as you stand up. The floor appears to slope up, the ceiling appears to slope down. I think that's very important when it comes to the flat Earth debate, because this is how the ocean looks over as it approaches the horizon. When you stand on the beach, for example, and look at the ocean, look out over the ocean, you see the ocean appear to slope up towards the horizon. Another thing to notice on the beach is if there's clouds out and you see birds flying around, if you really think about it, in your view, birds that are close to you actually appear to be above clouds. But you know, just because you know how your vision and perspective works, that the birds are actually closer to the earth than the clouds are, but you still tend to see that. Very interesting to talk about how our vision works. It's pretty remarkable.